Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the We Bought a Franchise podcast. I'm Jack Johnson.
I'm Jill Johnson.
And we have a killer guest for you guys today. This guy, he is incredible. Josh York, the founder and CEO of GYMGUYZ. Josh, welcome to the show.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's going to be a great episode. I was really looking forward to it.
Josh, you are like one of the most, you motivate people in a way that not many people are capable of. If you've seen Josh's podcast, which he has his own podcast, of course, people are just like he inspires people.
I love that.
And not only does he inspire people, but he also has an incredible franchise called GYMGUYZ, which has been tremendously successful, which, Josh, you started from the ground up, correct?
That is correct. My parents' dining room 17 years ago.
Wow. And you've received many awards over the years. I saw that you were a top 35 under 35 CEO. Now, you're not still under 35, are you?
Well, I look like I'm in my 20s still, and I still act. No, I'm not under 35. I'm 41 years old.
That's
still a baby.
That's right. Well, listen, man, we're so pumped to have you today, and so I want to make sure I get the most content out of you that will help our listeners. Josh, let's start by just talking about GYMGUYZ. How have you been able to grow such a successful franchise? What does GYMGUYZ do? Let's start there.
Absolutely. Well, growing any business is easy to say. It's not easy to do, and you need to understand that you have to be disciplined, you have to be consistent, and you have to really develop a resilient mindset, because really what I believe, it's really not a belief, I know it's a fact, like business is like 90% mindset. It really comes down to a lot of the mindset, because there's so many challenges that happen and you're constantly putting out fires. And when you want to actually create a business and then create it into a franchise and scale that even makes it about 1,000 times harder. So when I started this in my parents' dining room, kind of prior to that, before, I've always been in the fitness industry and I love helping people. And it was just, I always said, man, it's great to make a living, but it's really much better to make a difference. And there's a lot of great businesses out there, but not many businesses really have that consistent, I like to call it aggressive recurring revenue, because you have clients training, stretching 2 to 7 days a week. You have businesses using our service 7, 8 hours a day. But I was a trainer, and I was very successful as a trainer in my early years of college, probably making more money than most people, who are established were making, but it's not scalable, right? Like I always like to compare trainers to doctors. Doctors without patients are unemployed, and trainers without clients are unemployed. So you eat what you kill. Like doctors who are very successful open up practices with lots of other doctors, and they're more of like the entrepreneur. So I was like, man, I really need to figure out how I can make money when I'm sleeping in. One day, one of my clients came in late and said, Josh, I really wish you can come to my house. I just don't have any equipment. And I was like, wow, this is like such a simple idea. No one has actually ever professionalized this concept before. No one's ever franchised it. I'm going to do it. So I came up with the name GYMGUYZ. It's an acronym for Get You Motivated. Goals uniquely yours, zero excuses. We're going to, we started out obviously with white vehicles. Then we started wrapping them red, because red represents power, passion, determination. It's energizing. It excites the emotion, right? And, I want to stick out like a sore thumb. And I said, we're going to start providing our 3 C's, convenient, customized, and creative workouts. We're going to stock enough equipment in that workout, enough to provide you a fantastic workout 365 days a year. Service clients anywhere from their home, office, pool, park, place of worship, hospitals, senior homes, small businesses, large businesses, and we're going to change the world. And I started that and, got approved for franchising in 2014. And the craziest thing is I sold my first franchise on the first vacation I took in 8 years, and over a plate of brownies. Yes, a plate of brownies. I love brownies. I don't know about you guys, but I love some fudgy gooey brownies. And I was walking back to my table with a massive plate, about 30 brownies in there. And this gentleman comes up to me and says, where are you going with all those? I was like, I'm going to eat them all. You looking to take a couple? And we started having a conversation. And he's like, what do you do for a living? I started telling him about the franchise. The whole time on this like plane ride, I'm thinking like, man, how am I going to sell my first franchise? Like, if you look at the stats of how many people are actually a franchise that never even sell a franchise, is crazy. So, I was a little like, I wouldn't say like scared that it wouldn't happen. I knew it would happen. I just didn't know how. Next thing you know, he's like, my son would love this. 2 weeks later, come back during a blizzard. Okay, I live in New York. They live in also New York, but they're in Westchester County. I'm on Long Island. We were set to meet in New Jersey. Normally it would take me probably 45 minutes to get there. 4 hours and 45 minutes during a blizzard. I was nervous they were going to cancel. And I know you guys are just like me, like we don't quit. Like there's no excuses. So we figure it out, we make it happen. drove out there, closed the deal, and that was the first franchise. And since then, it's taken off like a rocket ship. And the reason we continue to keep winning and disrupt the entire fitness industry is there's no brick and mortar. You have lower expenses, much higher margins. Okay. We live in a world of convenience. Amazon, DoorDash, Instacart, HelloFresh, like that's not going anywhere. And if you look at the actual stats, 90% of people that have a gym membership don't go. Treadmills become the most amazing clothing racks. Apps don't work. AI, not going to happen. We bring the workout to you. People need human interaction and accountability, and that's why we're going to continue to keep winning. And most things in the fitness world are hot, and then they're not. We are not a fad. We are a lifestyle brand.
I mean, so much great stuff. I want to start with kind of mindset. I think what you said is so powerful and it's so true. I had this conversation with another franchisor the other day, and she was talking about how half her team was talking about, well, everyone's, putting things on hold because of the election and yada, yada. And she has this goal. She's like, I'm going to get to this amount of new franchise owners that we bring into our system. And that's what I'm focused on. And it made me think of Jill and I when we had our most successful professional year. We visualized what that year was going to be from the very beginning of the year, and we just focused on it. And so I think visualization, mindset, being goal-oriented, it's the key to entrepreneurship, because you are going to get more stuff thrown at you as an entrepreneur, good, bad, and ugly, than you ever could imagine. And if you're not prepared to be mentally strong and power through, you're not going to be successful.
100%. So what I would recommend people to do, okay, and this is what I believe, and I believe this to be true, and I'm sure you guys would agree. Exercise is the number one most important thing. And I'm not just saying that because that's my business. Like, it's very important. Now, I don't like to work out. I like to work out. And every day I work out, I'm up at 3:29 in the morning. I'm like a sniper's best friend. I take the same step at the same second every day. I am like, just literally, it doesn't matter. I don't care how the hell I feel. Every day, it doesn't matter, right? I push myself to limits that most people probably would never be able to do. And I like to suffer every day, first thing in the morning, because when you push yourself to suffering, number one, you help build a resilient mindset, number one. Number two, when someone quits during that day, it doesn't really matter. Someone serves you a lawsuit, doesn't really matter. Someone, you're having a bad day, or it doesn't, because it allows you to become tougher, and you build that resiliency, which you really need. Just like, you callous your hands, you got to callous your mind. And that's very, very important. And I think that is really the number one most important thing, because a lot of people suffer from anxiety. And if people say they don't, they're lying, because that's just normal. Like, everyone's going to have issues with that, because, life is not easy, right? But it's all up to you, right? The words you speak are powerful. Who you hang out with is powerful. And if you're going to talk like, in terms like, I'm waiting for the election, listen, you control where you're going, okay? You control your destiny. Someone else is not changing your life, because, like, look, everyone's got their views, and I get it. But at the end of the day, you're still controlling that. You're the one that has to drive that. But I do believe what can really help develop strong ability to have a good mindset is by working out and pushing yourself. Because number one, you're going to feel better. You're going to release endorphins that you can't do naturally. And you're going to build a level of confidence. Like, right, when you look good in your clothes, you walk into a room, like, you make a statement, right? And if you're not taking care of yourself, and you don't have a good representation of yourself, that's going to hurt too. But that's where I would kind of start with somebody who wants to develop a more mental toughness. Listen, we're not just even talking about business, right? You're going to have challenges in life all the time, right? If it was so easy, like, everything's work. Like, nothing is easy. You got to put the work in. I like to always say, the easy way doesn't pay well.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, Josh, you're so right. Every day I've noticed that I've had a hard day. When I go then lift, it helps. I come out with a better mindset, even just going for a walk.
Which you do like 5 times a day.
Absolutely. But I agree with you completely that fitness is a complete necessity for everyone, right? That's proven. But Jill and I are obsessed. I mean, every day we make sure it's on our calendars, right? It's one of the most important meetings of the day.
Well, we just even had a conversation with our son Trey. We're like, what do mom and dad do every day? And he said, work out.
First thing.
Like, he knows he's like growing up in that kind of family, but we both need it. It helps us mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And, it's so important. And I think what you said, Josh, is right. Is there, having someone there to motivate you is very helpful for most people. There's a lot of people that are not self-motivated, and they can have the most wonderful gym in their house and they don't step foot in it. But having an appointment on the calendar, someone coming to you, that's what gets more people out there and doing that. And so that's why your concept is amazing, because there's no excuses, we're going to be at your house, there's no traffic. I once went to a gym a long time ago and I couldn't find a parking spot, so I left. And that was
a different version of Jill.
That was a long time ago. But I don't think there's a lot of people like me, right? That they're looking for an excuse to not have to. So I love what you do.
Well, and it's true, Josh. Most people say, I need that person, right? I need that person to drive me, to motivate me, to keep me structured. And that's where, GYMGUYZ is I think, such a great franchise for people, because again, it's low cost, it's high need, it's recession resistant, it's good for you. Jill and I have actually had when you have like a fantasy about doing something else. I'm like, how cool would that be just to do a fitness related business all day where you're just helping people achieve their goals? Because you're right, Josh, when you do it and you hit that and all of a sudden you look at your body and you're like, you know what? That feels damn good. When you take your shirt off and you're, or you're in your bikini, or you're in your bikini and you're in your 40s,
that kind of podcast, okay?
As we are, it's a great feeling. And that's what you guys deliver. You deliver results.
It's funny, like being in the industry for such a long time. It's crazy how many people cancel their appointments, crazy how many people don't show up. The numbers are just nuts. And if you look at, some of the most successful gyms out there, they're based on you not going to the gym. And it's more like a psychological play, because who's going to cancel for $10, $20 a month? Someone's like, you know what? I go once a month. It's better than not going. I'll keep it. And that's really how they make money. But they're not really in the business to help people, like we really help people. And that's what it's about. And that's why I love what we do, because it's funny, when I got into business, I was just like, I want to make money. I want to make money. I want to make money. But that really starts to change. And it's like, I want to have purpose too, and you're able to hit both within our business model.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point. I believe personally that the stats, you need to be looking at the stats every day. You need to be checking your money, your cash flow on your businesses. You need to be watching all that stuff, and you need to be watching your health too. So from the Aura Ring to the Apple Watch to the scale in your bathroom, all the things are there to help keep you on track. And I think in life, and Josh, you said something really interesting, which is I'm a sniper's best friend, because every single day I take the same steps. I'm kind of the same way. I wake up, go for a walk. I eat the same boring breakfast every single day. I eat the same boring lunch every single day. I go to sleep at the same time every single day, because I believe, and Jill's shaking her head,
I just don't know how you guys do that. I'm not that way.
Yeah, it's hard. Not everyone can do it.
I think it's great. I really appreciate that. And I see both of you are very successful. So it's probably something I should do. But and I admire it. I'm getting better.
You are. Okay. Look at you. So, all these things, if you think about it, they do tie together. And I think it's being focused. It's being regimented. It's not being unflexible. You should still enjoy your life. But I think the same things that can help us in fitness can help us in business. And it's just paying attention to the trends. And so, Josh, tell us about the trends. What's happening in terms of GYMGUYZ, people coming into the system? What does a top performing GYMGUYZ franchisee do to get to go next level?
So the biggest things have been really obviously extremely lucrative, have been, our enter into the B2B space, helping large corporations with their employees. We're running their programs. We're also running schools now. We have some very big school chains. We run their entire PE programs. We're in senior homes where they've literally removed their staff. They've saved money and brought in real professional experts that are able to, help their people. We also got very heavily into, the autistic community. So we're working with a lot of autistic children. And I will tell you, that is hands down the most rewarding thing ever. I'll give you one quick story. We had a young girl we were working with. She was in need of help, right? And you don't realize how powerful fitness is. So I talk about it all the time. And she had to wear a bib because she would drool a lot, because her muscles, just the function of her muscles within her mouth, were not really working very well. Within literally 6 months, she lost the bib. She's a different person. The mother calls us up crying, like, you changed our family's life. Like, you know how fired up that gets me? Like, that gets me so fired up. I can't even begin to tell you. But That's what's really special. And then also we've just added in the stretching now. So our clients who are training are stretching, clients who are now, who are stretching are now training. And we now even implemented this into the businesses as well. So we have some large corporations investing some money buying now stretching tables. And, we're literally doing a stretch session, some self, some hands-on the facility. People don't realize, especially in the B2B space, like you're losing your team members. I don't like to use the word employees. I think it's degrading, but you're losing your team members around 1:30, 2 o'clock. They're just like ready to kind of check out. The companies that have added in fitness into their in their routines within their programs, and let's say they instead of 5 o'clock, they're done at 4 and they work out and they let to leave at 5, their productivity and numbers have increased by like I'm talking 60, 70%, like big increases just because they've added in fitness. And it's a very important thing. But this is what's also been driving our business. And we have very successful franchisees and continue to bring in very successful franchisees. Last year, we opened up 265 cities. We're going to more than double that this year. And we still got 600 territories still available that we can sell within our model. And the big thing for me is, we look for the right people. I tell people we don't sell franchises, we award them. People think that buying a franchise is just easy and fairy dust comes down and you're going to become a millionaire. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to put the work in. You got to be disciplined. You got to be consistent. But if you're willing to put in the effort for a good 2 to 3 years and really put it in, lead your team, develop your team, inspect what you expect, and drive that business, you pretty much set yourself up a passive opportunity, right? Where you're not involved much anymore, but you got to put that work in, and people need to understand that. And that's something that I make sure every person understands before we award them a franchise, because if they're not successful, we're not successful. And I want the right people who are going to be successful within our.
Yeah, I mean, I think the consensus amongst people that we talk to from all walks of franchising and business is the first 18 months are critical. And there's a lot of pushback right now in franchising on, absentee and passive franchising. But I think what you said is right. When you build the business and you scale the business and you get it past the first 18 months, past the first few years, you have the infrastructure to truly run the business semi-involved. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be involved, because you still should want to make decisions that help your company go next level. But what it does mean is that you don't need to be as involved in the 9 to 5 grind.
If you don't want to, you still can.
Absolutely.
I like to say you can't get a full-time result with a part-time effort. And, we do have many, owners who buy into the business and end up hiring a GM 6 months in, 7 months in, and they have someone who's really running the business. But that doesn't mean your involvement stops. Like, you got to still be a leader. You got to provide leadership. You got to inspect what you expect. Something that we've done that's been critical to our business is we've implemented some amazing technology, like the dashboard system we put in place as far as KPIs. Like, we're not a $1 billion company yet, keyword yet, but I will tell you, you could put our systems up to any $1 billion company. It's probably as good, if not better. We've invested a lot of time because I want everyone to understand their business. I want everyone to look at their CRM and make sure the buckets are cleaned out every day. So you can know if, like, your manager is doing the right job. You can make sure calls are being called back. You can make sure the assessments are going to be booked. You can make sure you're doing the check-ins. I'm so obsessed with the detail of it that we've created that system in place. So each franchise owner is able to do that. So they have full overview of their business.
Yeah. And I think you made a really good point. We have a GM for our Pinks business, and there's a lot of things that he does that I couldn't do. But I think with any GM that you hire, there's also going to be places where you can help them. And I think that's the part that needs to be discussed more, which is when you have a GM, as the business owner, it's your job to empower them, to help them. I always make sure every single day, am I asking the question, do you need help? What can I help you with? What are you seeing out there? But as well as providing guidance and making sure that we're focused on, it's like for our business, we're South Florida. And if you have South Florida franchisees, you probably know this. We go through a bit of a slow period in the summer because everybody goes back where you are. And now everybody's coming back down. And so we start to pick up. And now the conversations we're having are around, let's make sure that we're way staffed up, because November and December are going to be huge. People are going to be having more get-togethers. They're going to want their houses clean, and they're going to want it clean last second. And so I think, Josh, in terms of being a business owner, it's learning your business. It's learning how to manage your people. It's leading the team, like you said, driving sales and making sure that your guys are delivering that customer service.
One thing I like to always say, leadership is caught. It's not taught. And what I mean by that is you're not going to have all the answers, and don't think like you're going to have all the answers. No one has all the answers, but you will continue to learn, you will continue to sharpen your tools, and you will eventually develop into an unbelievable leader. And just like you were talking about your son, by the way, he's very cute. I see you guys post pictures. I like him a lot. You lead by example, right? Like it's when I talk about my children, I don't really teach them a lot. I do, but I don't. They just see what daddy does and they know, like, they know daddy eats healthy. They know daddy exercises. They know daddy works hard and like, we don't quit. Like my kids literally, like I have on my fridge core values for our house and they memorize them. I've like brainwashed them to my kids. Like we don't quit. We work hard. Failure is your friend. There's like a bunch of them and they know it, but you got to do the same thing with your team, right? So you're the leader, you lead by example. And 17 years later, I'm still the first one in. I'm still the last one out. If I got to go out there and pick up something out of the parking lot of my building, I pick up trash all the time. I'll watch and I'll see trainers pulling up, picking up trash, and no one even asked them because they see me doing it, right? So same rules apply in your business. And if you want to be the best, you got to act like the best. And you can't have an ego. You can't think you're above everybody else. You got to always be like that. And that's what also instills and creates a great culture within your company.
I love it. I love it. I think it's Josh, if someone were sitting here listening to this podcast and they're saying, I've got to be a part of what this dude is doing. I want to explore GYMGUYZ. Like what should someone have in terms of, if they're talking to you guys, like what are some of the common themes you see in some of your most successful franchisees? And maybe also, if you wouldn't mind, talk about what the investment parameters are for GYMGUYZ as well.
Well, first, if someone's interested, make sure they speak to the experts. So you get with Jack and Jill and they can kind of walk you through and really drive the detail for you. That's number one. Number two, look, people who understand and have energy, people who are happy. I want people who are happy because if you're happy, you're going to make other people happy, right? Like I always hire happy people. That's why we have such an incredible NPS score. Our net promoter score, I don't know if you guys are familiar, maybe or you're listening, net promoter score is ranged by the customer. Anything really over 50 is considered world class. We've never dropped below a 90 ever. Like we are obsessed with customer service. Why? We hire the right people. I always say you hire attitude over skill. Skill can always be taught. Attitude can't. So I'm looking for someone with a good attitude. I'm looking for someone who understands like, I got to push, I got to work. They got the drive. Sales background's obviously a plus, and someone who's willing to get uncomfortable. If you're okay, willing to get uncomfortable, because the more uncomfortable you become, the more comfortable you will become. So discomfort is something they should seek on a daily basis. As far as investment, 92,000 to 174. The difference between that is 1 territory to 3 territories. The majority of our franchise owners buy 3 territories for the fact that they want opportunity to grow. In very rare situations, depending on the background and skill level of this individual, if they're real savvy in business and they've done a lot of this before, then we would offer them more territories. But that's the range. And look, with me, it's like I really ask myself, would I have this person over my house for dinner? Like, would I let them sit at my table for dinner? And if I feel comfortable enough, then I'm like, all right, that's a win. That's one win. And let's see if they understand what it's going to take to be successful, because there's really no secret to success. Like people think like there's this formula or this like magical thing. No, it's you just rinse and repeat, and you're just consistent and do it over and over and over. And one day you're going to be like, oh my God. Like people don't realize like tomorrow could be the day that changes everything. But most people quit because they're weak and they're not strong and they quit. If you quit, you're never going to have the opportunity. Let me tell you something. The price of regret is going to be a lot more, a lot higher price than it is for just the hard work and the pain that you got to push through it. But pain is temporary. It doesn't last forever. This too shall pass. So those type of people we're looking for. And but really you got to get with the experts. And Jack and Jill are obviously at the top tier, not just very good looking people, but at the top tier of franchising. So you want to connect with them so they can kind of give you more insight, help you understand what options are and how the models work.
I love that. What a great commercial. And you guys
you can come on every week.
Yeah. Text us at 305-710-0050. I think, Josh, you're so right, because when hard things get thrown at you, and look, here's the thing I say to people all the time. We've had entrepreneurs on our podcast that have gone through everybody's worst fear. Okay. But what's the worst fear? Oh, it doesn't work and I go belly up. They survive and they thrive. Humans are very, very, very resilient. We are. To me, it's the people that that are just so afraid of trying. And look, I get it. I always tell people, when you work with us as franchise consultants, we are never going to force you to buy a franchise. We are never going to push you to buy too many units, but we're going to try and get you to the point. And if we believe that you got it and you can do it and there's more excitement than fear, then we're going to encourage that you go for it. But it's interesting, and you see this in people who explore franchise ownership. They want to try and figure it all out before they start, right? They want to put the box and get everything. And I just say, look, whatever you think that box is going to be, it ain't going to be that. Your path will not be the same. And we talked about this with Marcos from Amada Care. I'm sure you've met Marcos before on last week's podcast. And he's like, it's interesting. We've seen franchisees shoot right out of the gate and be huge high performers. And we've seen slow performers lap them 2 years later. And so the point of that is that even if you start slow, stay with it, stay steady, and you get there.
Yeah. Well, I like what she said too about being uncomfortable. I think that's a key thing. Is it's not easy. Like, owning a business is not easy. And so even up front, just be ready to be uncomfortable. I think it's interesting because even when you talk about business, it relates to fitness. It's the same thing, right? I mean, you can't see results unless you push yourself and you're a little uncomfortable and you do something that's really hard. If you're not doing that in business or in fitness, you're not going to see the results that you want. But I think it's a good reminder to people that, like, yes, it's not easy. And yes, there are people that, shoot out right out of the gate and do amazing. And that's great. And you always want to be that person, but also understand if you're not, it's still okay. If you put in the work, you get a little uncomfortable, you can still, do extremely well. You just have to get over that hump and push through it.
None of us would be here if not for going through that hard.
Right.
Listen, everyone's journey is different. Focus on yourself, follow the model, and don't worry what everyone else is doing. Everyone's going to have a different ramp-up period. I have people in 3 months that have made their money back. Is everyone going to do that? No. Am I saying you're going to do that? No. But you got to focus on you. And if you do what you're supposed to do, and you do it, and you repeat it, right? Is it going to be hard? Just like Jill said, absolutely, right? You want a six-pack? It's hard. You want to pass the test? Get in law school? It's hard. We can go through everything is hard. Like I said, the easy way does not pay well. But if you can actually follow the system, you can do it, you can execute it, you'll be massively successful. That's it. And you just don't quit. I could tell you stories that will make your stomach turn inside and out of things I've done over the last 17 years. I was literally at a casino about to gamble my life savings away to make payroll. I am all in. And you know what? Something that you could do that helps me when my back's against the wall, which I love, by the way. I love when, like, I'm, like the spikes are coming at me, because I will never quit. Like, it would just never happen. I'd rather die than quit. It would never happen. But, like, let me tell you something. It always works out. You just have to figure out a way. But you should ask yourself, okay, am I going to die tomorrow? No. Is my family okay and safe? Yes. Okay, so what's really so bad? I'll figure it out. That's literally what I tell myself every time. And it always, always works out. But you have to believe. And what I would always recommend is coming back to the vision, right? You have to have a vision, and you have to see that vision, and you have to constantly bring yourself back to that vision. And that's why I recommend a lot of people to create a vision board, so you can stare at that and be motivated and inspired by that, and just constantly, right, program your mind subconsciously to think these things, and they will happen. Like, I can't tell you how many things I manifested over the last 17 years, and they all continue to happen. But you got to be able to understand that and start doing that on a consistent basis every day.
Great stuff, Josh. Awesome stuff, man. I again, for all of you out there that are listening, that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, some of these things that Josh has mentioned are so crucial. Yeah. Just awesome content. When we look at this, we look about persevering, growing a business, understanding that having a vision is so crucial. I think being dedicated to success, not only professionally and personally, these are all awesome things. And also, I mean, did I just see, Josh, you guys had like a great franchise conference. Where were you guys?
Yeah, we were in Mexico. You got to watch that video. So it was a couple of videos you got to watch. I'll send them to you. But so we do things very differently. So one thing I do every year is I create a rap song every year. I actually write the rap song. I don't sing it, but I write it. And I tie it together. This year we actually did our own song. So you could download it on Spotify, iTunes. It's called Can't Stop, Won't Stop. Just type in GYMGUYZ with the Z. But I tie that into the recap video because it's very motivational. It's very inspirational. It's a great hiring tool. But we had it in Cancun this year. It was off the charts. The energy was just unbelievable. And I love our conferences. We call it the recharge. But something else I do that's really different is every year I start off high energy, and then we do a spoof video. So this year we did Dodgeball, the movie Dodgeball. and I played obviously White Goodman. You got to watch it. I'll send it to you. It's unbelievable. You'll love it. But like I like to let people understand that you can have a great culture, have a lot of fun. I want people to see a different side of me and also understand like, wow, you can do all that, make money, be successful, and still win. Like you don't have to be like, let's do this and we're gonna do this and keep everything very like, okay, guys, well, welcome. No, you don't have to do that. Like you can have fun. It's very important to have fun, and we have a lot of it. No problem.
Josh, what's the name of your podcast?
Fuel Your Drive.
Fuel Your Drive, and I'm assuming the folks can find you everywhere: YouTube, Apple, Spotify, everything, right?
Everywhere, and the episodes are great. They're incredible, and it's crazy. I just broke. I never broke this. One of my last episodes had over 100,000 downloads for the first time. So
amazing!
Wow.
Usually I usually get like 25 to 40,000, but for some reason this episode got over 100,000, which is incredible. And I was just talking about my routine when I travel. Like that was it. It was pretty simple. Like it just came out. I was pretty surprised by it, to be honest with you. But I just wanted to say that for a reason, because I've been doing this for a long time and barely, it took years and years. And I got some really great guests on there, right? Like Jack was obviously a guest. I've had some great people on there, and I was just getting, 30 views, 40. It took a long time. You have to be consistent. That's it. And that's the main purpose of what I'm trying to explain to you. Nothing happens overnight. Like, I got a great presence on LinkedIn. I was just talking to my team about this the other day, and I just got over 20,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's took 17 years. Right. Like you got to realize that it doesn't happen overnight. You got to be consistent.
That's it. Consistent, dedication, strong-willed, strong-minded. And you know what? Like Josh said, when the spikes are coming in on you and you feel like, things are so tough, don't quit. Mm-hmm. Don't freaking quit. If you're a business owner, you know what? You got to know this. It's going to take some time, but it's worth it. So if you got to go out there, in my opinion, and I saw it with my parents growing up too. I remember Jill's first Christmas with my family, my dad in the other room, my mom saying, "What's wrong with you? Why are you in such a bad mood?" And he's like, "I don't know if we're going to make payroll. It's Christmas and we're so tight." That's business ownership.
And we had no idea. Let's be honest. We had no idea.
We didn't find out till later, but they were able to right the ship. They were able to grow the business and do what they needed to do. And so to all of you out there who are existing business owners, who are considering business ownership, it's okay. The tough parts, that's where we learn. It's like you see Captain Kirk back here. The reason he's there is that Captain Kirk always figures it out. Always figures it out, doesn't matter. He always figures it out. And so whenever I think about how I'm going to be in business, I've got to be Captain Kirk. I've got to make it work and figure it out.
And it always, listen, I'm telling you this, I'm doing this a long time. It always works out. Just don't tap out. That's it. Just figure out a way. And remember, there's a price to pay. If you want to get to the other side, there's a price to pay. And you must be willing to pay that price. If you don't pay that price, well, everyone wants to have things people don't have. Well, if that's the case, you got to be willing to do things people won't do. Very simple.
Dude, we can't top that. Yeah. We're done. It always works out. Don't tap out. I love it. Josh, dude, as advertised, I'm ready to go run through a wall, man. Appreciate you spending time with us today on the podcast. For all of you out there, make sure to go check out Josh's podcast. Make sure to check out GYMGUYZ. If you'd like us to give you the introduction to Josh, we'd be happy to do it. Just text us 305-710-0050. Josh, anything else you want to add to the folks?
No, listen, I really, really thank you guys for having me on. It was just awesome, great energy, and hopefully gave out some good nuggets for some people to learn, and definitely connect with, Jack and Jill if you guys want to learn more.
Perfect. All right. Well, for all of you out there, thanks for joining us on another episode of the We Bought a Franchise podcast. Talk to you next time.
Everyone.